Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Israel Wake Up. This is our Women's Advanced Bible Study, 27th of March, 2029. For those that don't know, this Israel Wake Up is Prophets Awakening sister channel. That's where we do all our women work at. Okay, the title discussion tonight is we're dealing with the black woman, or you can say the Israelite woman. They are both one and the same. Got a couple of videos we'll play and then we'll talk about it. Okay, you can go to our YouTube channel to Israel Wake Up. Check out our videos. We have over 100 or so videos that you can look at, examine, and all our lives, and draw your own conclusions while you take the meat out. Okay, this is a non-Messianic channel for those that don't know. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah, Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and Torah is the first 5 books, which consist of our laws, our statutes, and our judgment that was given to us by our Redeemer and our Savior, the Lord of hosts. Shalom and welcome to the channel, and welcome to the study. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, songs. We have some women's help, and then we got current events, need to know information. Okay, and then we go into Q&A. Anybody have any questions, comments, or dialogue? I said before we go into our topic, the black woman, Israelite woman. Okay, and then we'll pick a scripture and have somebody pick a scripture. We'll read it and then break it down, and then we'll close out. Okay.
Shalom, Brother Leonard. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Tasha's scripture at the end, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I probably ain't gonna forget, but remind me, Tasha, whenever we get to the end, so I won't skip over it. All right.
Okay.
Okay. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore, we come before thee at this hour, seeking our face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants David, Solomon, and Samuel, Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. Give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad, for we know that you possess the power to turn us, O Lord. Allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hear our plea, hear and do, O Lord, and hide not thy face from us any longer, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay, somebody gonna read the Psalms, or do I need to read?
Shalom, Brother Leonard. I'm going to read from Psalms
Okay, go ahead.
110,
Okay.
and it's going to be verse 1 through 7. The Lord ruling's power. The Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. The Lord shall send the rod of thy strength out of Zion. Rule thou in the midst of thy enemies. Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power, in the beauties of holiness, from the womb of the morning. Thou hast the dew of thy youth. The Lord hath sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. The Lord at thy right hand shall strike through kings in the day of his wrath. He shall judge among the heathen. He shall fill the places with the dead bodies. He shall wound the heads over many countries. He shall drink of the brook in the way, therefore shall he lift up the head.
Okay. You got any comments on that? Or comments on that Psalms? Okay, this what we just read was Psalms 110, and I just saw it myself, some more ammunition. But it says Psalms 110, it says the Lord gives dominion to the king, and it's a Psalm of David. So it actually the Lord gives, the Psalm is about the Lord giving dominion to King David, right? So with that understanding, in the very first verse, they want to put JC in this first verse, but he's not there. It says the Lord, David talking. Well, it's a man, it's the Israelite, more than likely a priest. But he says, the Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make thy enemies thy footstool. So how you rightly divide that, this person is saying, the Lord of hosts told his Lord, David is his Lord, uh, sit down at my right hand, right? Until I make thy enemies thy footstool. So telling David, sit down over there. I'm gonna do the dirty work for you. You know, subdue your enemies. Okay. Then verse 2 says, the Lord shall send the rod of his strength out of Zion. That's David. Rule thou in the midst of thy enemies. Okay. And when you understand, everybody around the nation of Israel, when David existed, hated David. So that's what he's saying. 3, thy people shall be willing in the day of power, in the beauties and the holiness from the womb of the morning. Thou shalt have the dew of thy youth. Then 4, the Lord hath sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest. This point I just recognized. The Lord hath sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. So that's why they want right here. They want to tell you Jesus was Melchizedek. But when you understand that this Melchizedek is a title, and the first Melchizedek was Adam. Then when Adam passed, it was passed on down the line until Noah was Melchizedek. And then when Noah got on the boat, went across the waters through the flood, then on the other side, he got off. He was Melchizedek, was passed on uh, Shem. So when you get to the story of Adam, that Shem, that Abraham meets. And then we know Abraham was given all that knowledge because he lived in the house of Noah and Shem before he died, and Eber before they died. So now that knowledge of Melchizedek was passed on to Abraham, and then it disappeared, and then it came back right here, David, and David became king. That's what Melchizedek means, king of shalom, or king of righteousness. That's what Melchizedek means. So when David ascended to the throne, he's telling him right here, the Lord has sworn and will not repent. Thou art the priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. So after the order of those 10 men before the flood, David picked it back up right here. And then it says, 5, the Lord at thy right hand shall strike down kings in the day of wrath, and he shall judge the heathen. He shall fill the places with dead bodies, and he shall wound the heads of many nations. All this already happened. This is what brought David into power. Then 7, he shall drink of the brook in the way, therefore shall he lift up his head. So, like I said, they got us, they didn't program us to think that when you read these Psalms, they prophesy, they prophecies about JC, but these songs, David wrote them, and it's about his relationship with the Lord of hosts, with our Redeemer. And when you understand that, these songs come alive. Okay. So with that being said, anybody have? Okay, we go to our.
Brother Leonard,
Okay.
Brother Leonard, excuse me. I just wanted to
Okay.
ask a question about verse 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I used to hear people say all the time when I was coming up that You don't have to touch people, you let God handle it. You hear people say stuff like that.
Right.
And I always wonder, is this kind of similar to what it's saying in a way when it says, until I make thy enemies thy footstool, where, that person may do something to you, but they may have to end up needing you, or you may see something, you don't have to touch them, they'll pay for what they're doing that's wrong to you. I always wonder, is this what they're kind of talking about in a way too as well?
Yeah, it's talking about that. It's saying that uh when you understand who the judge is, it's the Lord of hosts.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
somebody wrong you
Hmm.
or sin against you, it's his job to deal with them. So you ain't gotta worry about it. They're gonna receive the judge, he's gonna judge them. Prime example, when Amalek stole Sarah from Abraham. Abraham didn't do nothing. So the Lord showed up at his house that night and told him that Sarah belonged to Abraham, and if you don't take him back, I'm gonna kill everybody in this city. So that's how that works. You just continue on what you're doing. The judgment is in the hands of the Lord of hosts. That's how it works. Okay, that answer your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, okay. We're gonna go to our women's help moment.
Yes, sir. Shalom, everyone. Please know that the information that is shared is intended for general, informational, and educational purposes only and is not medical advice or recommended treatment. Last week, we had the discussion on clean and unclean foods, and I have done this discussion before, but I just thought that it would be a great follow-up to what was discussed last week. So tonight's discussion is on what is kosher. The English word kosher is derived from the Hebrew root kasher, which means to be pure, fit, proper, or suitable for consumption. The laws that provide the foundation for a kosher dietary pattern are found within the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible. It has commandments to follow as ways to obey the Lord. Keeping kosher is one of them. Rooted in history and culture, each law is specific about what types of food you can and cannot eat. The laws are also strict about the way you process, prepare, and inspect food when you're going to call it kosher. Keeping kosher is a commitment. It covers what you eat and the way you prepare your meals, as well as the way you use your kitchen and dishes every day. Examples of kosher foods include lamb, goat, veal, and beef. Most fruits and vegetables are allowed on a kosher diet. These must be examined and fully cleaned before consumption. However, to prevent non kosher items like insects from being eaten, dairy products must be originated from a kosher animal, and cheese cannot be processed alongside meat products, just to name a few. To find out more about clean and unclean foods, refer to Leviticus chapter 11 and Deuteronomy chapter 14. Remember that keeping kosher is not a style of cooking, it's the laws for the types of foods that the Israelites can and cannot eat. These laws were given to the nation of Israel. The purpose of the law was to reveal the holy character of the eternal God to the nation of Israel. It was to set apart the nation of Israel as distinct from all other nations. It provided forgiveness through the sacrifice and offerings and provided God's direction for the physical and spiritual health of the nation. So, pork tenderloins do not make a great meal. Not only was eating pork forbidden, but even touching the meat was unclean. Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 8 says, "And the swine, because it divided the hoof, yet cheweth not the cud, it is unclean unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, nor touch their dead carcass." The dietary restrictions indicated that Israel was a separate nation and the chosen people. I will be reading from Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 6 and 7. God has chosen Israel. Verse 6, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Verse 7, the Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people. Tonight's discussion was on what is kosher, and I read Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 6 and 7. Shalom, everyone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So appreciate that. When you understand the breakdown on these seven angels that the Lord created in the very beginning, He created the seven angels. They call the holy ones. So when you understand that it's a holy one over Israel, it's not Yahweh, it's the angel that's over Israel, a holy one. And so holy means that things you can't do that everybody else can do, but you can't do. And so when you understand that, it says that Israel is a holy people. So that ties into what we just said. You can't eat and do any old thing because you're a nation of holy people. You set apart. You're different than the rest of the nations. And so, like I said, I always read to bring a lot of clarity to. I always read Genesis chapter 3, verse 7. Oh no, not 3. Uh, chapter 2. Bad, I keep on getting this mixed up. Chapter 2 and verse 17, it says 18, and the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helpmeet. And so a lot of people get this mixed up with 21. And the Lord God caused the deep sleep to fall and he made Eve. She was a helpmeet. But right here, it says in 18, the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helpmeet. In 19, out of the ground, he eat the kosher food that one Shell just brought up. This the kosher meat. Out of the ground, the Lord God formed every beast of the field, every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was their name. These not the creatures in Genesis 1:26. These are animals. He formed these animals. Just like he formed a man and a woman. I mean, he created a man and a woman. He came and formed a man. And then he took out of his will and made and formed Eve. And so he created some animals over in 126. But right here, he formed these animals out of the ground. He eat the kosher animal. So an example of that is Genesis 15. Go to Genesis 15, and you'll see Abraham getting ready to sacrifice. In verse Genesis 15 and 7. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee up out of the Chaldeans, to give thee this land. And he said, Lord God, well shall I know that I shall inherit it? And then he told him, and he said unto him, take me a heifer, is one of the animals he formed out of the ground, a heifer 3 years old, and a he goat 3 years old, 3 years old, and a turtle dove, right? Turtle dove, a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, divided them in the midst of it, and laid each piece against another, but the birds he divided not. So that's your example. And so that's the same thing what we eat, those animals that we can eat. That was described in I think it was what number? Deuteronomy.
Yes, sir. Deuteronomy and Leviticus. Yes, sir.
Okay, so those same animals, those clean animals. And like he said, he changed now. So it's the same thing going on today. That's what these animals were the ones they used in the temple. Okay. So with that being said, we go to some current events. Got a lot of stuff going on, so see what's happening.
Shalom. Can I say something, Brother Leonard?
Go ahead.
After listening to what Michelle just read. It just goes to show how diabolical they were when they brought us over here and to separate us from our God, to give us and force us to eat the very thing that He told us not to eat in
Exactly.
order to steal our identity. I had saw a video about a little bit more information that I didn't know about the Jews that came from Russia, what they did, and why they were hated and pushed around Europe, and nobody wanted them to stay there, and why Germany turned on them the way they did. It's just very diabolical that all of that was going on at the same time, and how they brought America into World War II because they needed them to be to help them defeat Nazi Germany. It's just very interesting. And like I said, it all ties back into the stuff that they did to us in order to separate us from our God and then assume our identity.
Exactly. Right. Right. Well, like I said, I know it's back when I first got into this, and people was waking up, and the thing that was being used to wake a lot of people up was Deuteronomy 28 curses, because once you read those curses and blinders off, you can see those curses identify us, that we the people that the curses are on, like Deuteronomy 28 and 41 says that the curse is going to be on us for a sign. But Esau got curses on him. That's how he's been able to pass all this time. Like you said, they were being persecuted and driven from every country they went to because they was usury. And then the spirit, Most High had that spirit on people to reject them. But Ezekiel 35, when you read Ezekiel 35, those are the curses that's on Esau. So they similar. And so up until this point, until now, he's waking everybody up and he's bringing forth the truth. They was able to get away with it because everybody was thinking they were the Jews because of what happened, what Hitler done to them.
Right.
So they thought they were Jews. Yeah,
And I was also going to say too, this made me think about it when you were talking, is that because Esau is still mad, or his descendants are still mad about the fact that, in their mind, that the blessing of Isaac gave didn't give to him, he still feels like he's the one that should be in his position. You understand what I'm
right.
saying? So
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
why, yeah. So that's why we are the Jews, and because the blessing was stole from me, so that's why they continue even to this day saying they are the Jews and manifesting that identity because they still believe that it was stolen from them, or that's the lie they tell.
Right. So we see how horrific everything that happened to us over the last just say 400 years, but 2,500 years. So we know that Cain got descendants too, right?
Yes,
He angry too. Remember, he killed Abel.
right,
So same thing was going on with Cain and Abel. Same thing was going on with Jacob and Esau. So he killed Abel. So his descendants got a perpetual hatred too.
right.
Well, the fourth beast is the. This how you know that Japhet ain't none of Noah's son. So the Greeks, which are from Japhet, came together with the Edomites,
Yep,
Esau descendants, and they became one nation, which is
yep,
the fourth beast. That's why it's so horrific. That's why so much hatred is being spread around against us because of those two hatreds came together.
right. And to
Right,
me, that's the only thing. Because even as a little girl, I always like, why do they hate us so? What did we do? And they never
right,
want to really tell you the story because then they'll have to tell the whole story. But it's just a underlying and subconscious hatred from us that go
right,
way back to the beginning. And to me, that's the only thing that I found that explains what you just said, why they hate us so.
right. And not only that, it's spiritual, which puts with this make it's not just
Right.
a hatred; it's a spiritual hatred from the beginning. And not only that, you got demonic forces along with it
Yeah.
because they was done. The angels and the giants was done away with too because Adam's descendants. So it's a big hatred. It's spiritual and at the same time it's physical, because you got Cain, you got uh, physical descendants from Cain and physical descendants from Esau, which is the physical side of it, but you also got a spiritual side. Yeah. Okay. Anybody got any comments on that? Okay. Here goes my first video.
If I was Iran, the Houthis, or any other terrorist, I would be
This was 9 hours ago.
really afraid now. As we speak, a giant US military force is gathering in the Middle East. Two aircraft carriers, Harry S. Truman and Carl Vinson, have now been deployed to the Middle East. For some time now, the international trade route has been disrupted by the Houthis, and American ships have been there to protect those for a while now. And really, if not for the US military that has been active in this region, Europe would be in real problems. But I believe this is not the end of the story, and something much bigger is happening here. Because not only, as we mentioned, the US has the Harry S. Truman air carrier strike group active in the Red Sea, but also Carl Vinson air carrier strike group is heading toward the Middle East. But that's not all. There are reports saying that the US has moved their B-2A stealth bombers to the Diego Garcia military base. Now, this is very, very interesting, because when we see where the military base is located, we can measure the distance, for example, to Tehran. And when we do that, we can see that the military base is located roughly 3,200 miles from Tehran. And the B-2A Spirit bomber has a range of 6,900 miles. This means that this bomber from this military base is capable of reaching Tehran and coming back. And currently, there are 7 of those most advanced bombers in this military base. And I don't have to remind you, they can even carry nuclear weapons. And while this is all happening, Israel began a full ground operation in Gaza to eliminate Hamas. So let's talk a little bit about this, because this is also very important. So we can divide Gaza into 5 sections. You have Rafah, you have Khan Yunis, you have the central part, you have Gaza City, and the northern part. And you can see the numbers tell you how many people lived in these urban centers before the war. But of course, under urban centers, there is also a huge network of tunnels.
Hey everyone, big heads up, Paleo Valley is running a sale on
This is like an underground city under Gaza. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent by Hamas to build this network. And this money very often was to help the people of Gaza, but used to build up this military facility of Hamas. So what Hamas did is that they fired rockets from those urban centers. Those rockets were targeted toward random locations in Israel, because they're not very precise. Of course, thanks to the Iron Dome, a lot of those rockets were intercepted and destroyed. And after such operation, Hamas would hide in those densely populated urban centers. But for some time now, Israel is targeting those urban centers where Hamas leaders are hiding. Of course, after ordering the civilians to leave this area. Secondly, Israel is destroying and sealing the tunnels where Hamas is hiding. According to the Times of Israel, the IDF has eliminated about 60% of all the tunnels in Gaza. Another source, however, the Jerusalem Post, says that only 40% of the tunnels have been destroyed. So there is still a lot of work to do. Additionally, every day, the IDF announces that they have eliminated a leader of Hamas. This is just crumbling the structure of Hamas. And the weakness of Hamas is best illustrated by images like this. People in Gaza are walking and shouting, Hamas are terrorists. Of course, I wouldn't take it too seriously for two reasons. First of all, it may be even orchestrated by Hamas that are losing this war and want Israel to stop the war. So they want to mobilize now the people to shout those things so that the world also would see that the people in Gaza are not Hamas. This can be totally fake because when Hamas attacked Israel, the regular we speak, there are no match for the U.S. Army. But when the US is done with the Houthis and Israel is done with Hamas, there may be something greater coming. Something that Iran should be really, really scared of because Iran is backing those two groups. So Hamas and the Houthis. And the US and Israel know that they are the main problem in the region.
Okay, any comments on that? Anybody know that? They sent those ships over there?
Shalom. I think that's why this whole debacle happened with the leaked war plans
Oh yeah.
is it keep continues to escalate. Uh, I don't understand the politics of why Iran is being they're trying to draw Iran into it, but I do know and understand that everything that's going on is they don't know what they're doing, and they're gonna get a lot of people killed because of their arrogance and their incompetence with the way in which they are orchestrating this whole thing. And that's why that leak is so important. They keep trying to discredit that guy, but that guy released that information exactly what they said. Now they backtracking, trying to say that that wasn't war plans because they hadn't actually hit the ground. I'm like, what kind of sense does that make?
Well, yeah, and it exposed how ignorant they are. They have no they got help sack. They was right about not him not being getting that position because he's a nut bucket.
Yep.
So and they all of them seen that they had a whole big old meeting live when they attacked the Houthis and it was live. They ain't even know how crazy is that.
Right. But can you talk about the spiritual aspect of what's going on? Because is this somehow tied to them also trying to do this whole sacrifice of the
Yeah, that's
heifers?
what it is.
And yeah, can you talk about that a little bit and tie that all in?
Okay, next month is Passover,
Right.
so they have to do they want this when you understand all that. They want to usher in and they want to usher in this temple. They already I was telling you about. They already got all what people don't and I really tying it too. They concocted the Book of Revelations, and
Right.
so they're using the technology that they have to bring that to life to make it look like it's the end times. So
Right.
they're using this Project Blue Beam as we speak. They're showing angels, showing Jesus appearing in the sky over Jerusalem. So all this already set. So now they coming with this. They saying this Passover is it. And remember when they presented those red heifers, those they got you got 3 years
Right.
because once that cow become 3 years old, you can't use them no more. So they right at it, this Passover they got to be used. So
Right.
that's why people saying so this Passover coming, and then we see how they bum rushing over there. They going to the Middle East. They got America attacking the Houthis, and they got Israel attacking Hamas. And then we already see what they got going on over here. On they got this big thing planned for April the 5th.
Yeah.
This big protest
March. Mm-hmm.
trying to get us out in the streets. And then on May April 20th, they supposed to be gonna call martial law in
That's what I
America.
heard. Yeah, I heard that too. But
So
I
so
also heard
yeah.
they only got two heifers left though, because one of them started getting some gray hair. or something like that. So
Right.
they only got two. So how many do they have to have, or is there a
All they need
certain
is one.
number? They just need
One.
one. Mhm.
Yeah.
I apologize.
That's
I
all
didn't
they
mean to
need.
interrupt.
Right. And then the thing about it is, uh, go back to the time when so-called JC was there. They don't give a damn whether the animal is kosher or not. They want us to think they care, but they don't care. Look what they were doing when that's why most Lord hosts got a problem with them. They sacrificing lame animals, defective animals, and all that on the altar. So, like I was saying before, when you understand those things, go back to like I keep saying about the fact when David came in and took the Jebusite city, which became Jerusalem. David came to the walls, megalithic cities. The giants was in behind these walls, and they had all those defects. And David said, "My soul hate the lame and the blind, because the lame and the blame and the blind came. The Creator don't make defective stuff. It's the bloodline that was in when the angel slept with the woman, and that bloodline is defective because it's angelic DNA mixed with human DNA. That's where the lame and the blind came from, and those defects, and that's why he kept continuously telling us don't mingle with them. So, like I said, when you understand those things, that Japhet ain't none of his son, ain't none of Noah's son. So that's why all is tied to that. So they,
Thank you.
you know what I'm saying? Right. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go to the next one. Anybody else got any comments on that or questions? Okay, here go another example. We see something get ready to happen. You can believe that.
Do you believe the Bible?
Okay.
So Europe is getting ready and it wants its citizens to prepare too. Brussels has issued guidelines for all 450 million Europeans. 450 million people across all 27 member states. Every household has been asked to maintain a survival kit.
This is JFAC, right? This is 7 hours ago. They told them to prepare
To stock up on things like bottled water, canned food, a torch, and basic supplies like toilet paper. This stock should last for at least 3 days. That is the instruction. It is part of a new European strategy for preparedness.
Today's threats facing Europe are more complex than ever, and they are all interconnected. The battlefield.
So that should tell you something. They say they telling them they came out with emergency declaration. Stock up for at least 3 days. So they're telling you right here something going to happen in 3 days. And soon.
In our pockets, our phones, our computers, our power plants, our banks, our supply chains, our raw materials, and in the media, the social media we consume every day. These are all battlefields, and they are being weaponized to threaten our European way of life and our democracies.
Brussels wants Europeans to be ready for anything: a war, cyber attacks, extreme weather events like floods or wildfires, even a major disease outbreak. Europeans must be self-sufficient, at least for the 72 hours of any crisis. That is the key message of Europe's preparedness plan. Top EU leaders are urging people to act on it. They're suggesting keeping an emergency bag ready at home.
What's in my bag? Survival edition. My document in a waterproof fold. A must in a rainy Brussels. Let's talk about lighting. I have a flashlight and of course the light. Turn. And my special friend. A Swiss almanac. And of course some cash. In
Preparedness Day. They haven't locked a date yet, but the plan is grand and exhaustive. Preparedness will become a part of the school curriculum. Europe feels it's an absolute must. Although most people would would consider these measures extreme. They're asking 450 million people to keep emergency kits at home with stockpiles of canned food and toilet paper. Is Europe really heading into a war, or is this just fear mongering? The trigger, of course, is the situation in Ukraine. Europe increasingly feels that it is at risk, that the threat of a conflict is higher. Different member countries are working on their own plans too, like France. This summer, all French citizens will get a manual, a survival manual, outlining clear and detailed steps, like what to do if a war or any major crisis breaks out. In fact, Belgium already has a website for its citizens. It has a list of items, things that every household should keep in an emergency pack. Germany and Poland have gone a step further. They have asked families to upgrade cellars, garages, or storerooms as bunkers. Homes in Poland are already doing this. One EU leader compared this to accident insurance. Listen to what they said. You want to be prepared and you want to minimize the damage, the cost, the suffering that you might go through. It may sound They make it sound rather so normal, but it's anything but normal. Stockpiling of critical supplies and turning bases into bunkers is not normal. People do this when a war looms. Governments are supposed to protect their people to keep them safe from harm. Instead, the EU is handing out an instruction manual with doomsday predictions, telling Europeans how to survive on their own for 72 hours when crisis hits.
Okay, any comments on that?
Shalom. They sound like they know exactly what's going to really happen. And when we had COVID, they were talking about get your 72-hour bags because you're going to have to be, locked down. Um, they were saying it ever since 2019, and some TikTok and YouTubers are saying it now. I've seen a lot of people who have their little platform are speaking on it. Grow your own fruits and vegetables and things like that here in the United States, speaking on what's going to happen. They're feeling that it's going to be a lockdown. They're going to place out some disease, like they were saying polio is back in the measles, being that it was in in Texas. So they're on TikTok, they're talking about the 72-hour bag here in the United States, and now that they're speaking over there about that, and they're saying bunkers, that means something is going to be landing from the air. It's going to be airstrikes or something, because you don't do a bunker unless there's chemicals in the air or something that at that extreme.
Okay, anybody else have anything?
Shalom. So, can you kind of elaborate on the significance of 3 days? Because 3 days, if there is some sort of nuclear or some type of warlike attack, 3 days is not, it's going to last longer than 3 days, or at least the impact of it will be last longer than 3 days. I do hear, like what Shirley's saying about, in the various rooms about having your backpack and ready, but everybody keeps talking about 3 days. Why do they think that 3 days is enough? Because to me, the effects of war it's what happens after the war that is the most devastating outside of the initial attack. So why 3 days?
I would assume the 3 days is tied to the fact that the first 72 hours, you can, after the event and already transpired and you can see what's happening, you got enough time and enough provisions to figure out what it is you're going to do next. That's something I can, and then, go to the scriptures, 3 days, right? That's the first thing I thought about. They
Yeah,
copy
thank you.
everything else.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, yeah. So here goes some need to know information. Talk about this. Tie your shoes up.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. So I'm going to be sharing what I consider a bombshell report in this video today. Um, this white man, he actually reveals a very dark secret of white culture that, you know, for some people is going to be a surprise. To others, some of these things we already know. But what I love is when we are presented with a truth receipt. I think that's what I'll call them, truth receipts, where you can share the information from the perspective of the culture that it's coming from. So no one can say, oh, you're being mean, Deborah. No, I'm just letting him speak and say what he knows. Anyway, if you are someone who enjoys the truth, if you enjoy the truth, then I want you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And of course, be sure to hit the notification bell so that you can be alerted each and every time we upload or go live. But anyway, what he reveals is really something else. This is why there has been a massive cover up of true history, because there are things that have been presented to the world in a way that favors one group of people over everybody else. But this particular thing, this bombshell report that he reveals about his own people, is definitely something for the ears of those who are seeking the truth. Anyway, take a listen at this, and of course, you know I will be right back.
White people have never even known how to give birth, and history proves it. White people love to act like they've mastered childbirth and medicine, yet history suggests they spent most of their existence barely surviving the process. They turned birth into a medical emergency because they refused to listen to midwives. They forced women to give birth lying down because some clueless king thought it gave a better view. They made childbirth more painful by ignoring techniques that non-white cultures had been practicing for centuries. They dismissed indigenous, African, and Asian birthing traditions only to rediscover them later and claim they invented them. Even today, white maternal mortality rates are rising because they still don't know what they're doing. At some point, we have to ask, if white people were truly the standard for medical progress, why have they spent centuries making childbirth harder than it needs to be? White people designed birth around the comfort of doctors, not mothers. In the 17th century, King Louis XIV popularized the idea of women giving birth lying down because he wanted a better view. Before that, women across the globe gave birth in upright positions because it actually makes it easier. White doctors ignored midwives and traditional birthing practices, replacing them with untested medical interventions. They turned childbirth into a sterile clinical event rather than a natural process. Meanwhile, other cultures had birth figured out. Indigenous African and Asian cultures used birthing stools and squatting positions for easier labor. Traditional midwives had centuries of knowledge passed down that actually made birth safer. Many non-white societies incorporated holistic approaches that minimized pain and complications. White people weren't improving birth, they were making it worse for no reason. White men declared themselves the experts on birth without ever experiencing it. For centuries, white men dominated medicine while knowing nothing about childbirth. They dismissed midwives as unscientific and banned them from practicing. They insisted births should happen in hospitals, even though home births were often safer. They used forceps and other dangerous tools instead of listening to women about what actually worked. Meanwhile, non-white cultures let women handle birth like they always had. Midwives across Africa, Asia, and the Americas had successful birthing techniques long before European doctors showed up. Birth wasn't seen as a medical emergency. It was treated as a natural process. Communities supported new mothers instead of isolating them in sterile hospital rooms. White people weren't leading medicine. They were just pretending to. White people have always had the worst maternal mortality rates. In the 1800s, Europeans had deadly childbirth wards because doctors refused to wash their hands. Puerperal fever caused by white doctors spreading infection killed thousands of women unnecessarily. Midwives had lower mortality rates, but white doctors pushed them out of practice anyway. Even today, the US has the highest maternal mortality rate among developed nations. Meanwhile, other cultures had lower birth complication rates for centuries. Traditional birth attendants focused on preventing infection, not causing it. Holistic and natural birthing methods reduced unnecessary trauma. Many
So like I was saying, you haven't done it yet, get you a frosty or slush and just park on the side of the highway or park outside of Walmart and see how many degenerate white folks, how many white kids come out of there. Or just sit there and look at the cars when they pass by. And the kid up to the window. So we ain't paying no attention. Like I said, the long necks. We ain't paying attention. But just look how many kids when you go someplace. These and then half of them they hiding them. But they everywhere you go, they got them kids. They ain't right. That's why the Most High said don't mingle with them. And because we don't mingle with them, now we have them. But he said, but that's the purpose. What he told us not to mingle with them. And like I said before, all you gotta do, it don't matter what town you're in. And so for the longest, we thought they was highly intelligent. They want to think that we animals, we rabbits, because we having 12 and 10, 12 and 7, 8, 9 kids in a family. But that's how we survived in the Egypt. The more they persecuted us, the more we multiplied. Because he told Adam, be fruitful and multiply. He told Noah the same thing. So it's something wrong with them, right? And nobody ain't dealing with it. And like I said, that's a prime number one sign that we ain't no brothers and we ain't no kin folks. These people come from somewhere else.
indigenous societies had postpartum care that actually prioritized the mother's recovery. White people weren't making birth safer, they were turning it into a death sentence. White people stole birthing techniques, then claimed them as medical breakthroughs. They dismissed traditional birthing methods, then rebranded them as new scientific advancements when white doctors discovered them. Water births, indigenous and African cultures had been doing them for centuries. Doula care, Black midwives have been providing that long before white hospitals made it a luxury service. Skin-to-skin contact, standard in non-white cultures, but revolutionary when a white doctor suggests it. Meanwhile, non-white cultures have been doing this forever. African, Asian, and indigenous birth workers have used techniques that actually worked for generations.
Okay, any comments on that?
Shalom, Brother Leonard. We were formed to multiply, right? To bring forth, right?
Right.
So we
Right.
look at all the things that they done to us throughout history, when it comes to experimenting on us, trying to figure out how things worked when it came to us, right? So
Right.
I think about the doctor that just really done a number on Black women, right? When it
Right.
came to OBGYN, right?
Right. Exactly.
Trying to figure out how our bodies worked. We were tortured
Right.
doing these experiments, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
always think about when they was talking about the stool and all that, right? I was
Right.
thinking about in Exodus uh chapter 1, right? Where it
Right.
talks about the midwives to kill male children. And I'm going to read this. It's 15 through 21. It says, "And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said,
Right.
When ye do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools," he talked about the
Right.
stools, "it is
Right.
to be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared God and did not, as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men, children alive. And the king of Egypt called the midwives and said unto them, why have ye done this thing, and have saved the men, children alive? This one right here is what I love. And the midwife said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are
So,
lively, and they are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. And it came to pass, because the midwives feared God, and that he made them houses. We were formed different.
right. So there go another example. I keep showing you over and over again how Japhet ain't no son. Right here, Ham. You heard what she just said? They said the Israelites children are lively. They ain't like the Egyptian children. You see that? And so go to when the Lord of hosts. Like I said, I don't know about nobody else. You gonna listen to the Lord of hosts? These seven angels that was there in the beginning, or you gonna listen to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John? So they said that um that these kids, when those kids were born, in the book of Jasher, how they was in the field, and they, because the Pharaoh was killing all of them, they was putting them in the field, and the Lord of hosts protected them the whole time while they was in the field, and they multiplied. The more they got, the worse they got, the more they multiplied. And so, like I was saying before, when the 10 plagues came, he said, or the last plague, when he killed seed, and every said it wasn't a house in Egypt that it wasn't not a dead body in there. And he said that the reason he done that was to let us know when we read it now, and the people back then, that it's a difference. It's a difference between the Egyptian and the Israelite. That's why he done it. So how they kin. And then we just saw what the handmaiden just said, the midwives, they said the Israelite baby's different. Why how they if they brothers, then wouldn't the Egyptians be lively just like the Israelite babies lively? But that's your
Hmm.
sign right there to show you they ain't no kid. You ain't no kid.
Shalom.
Sham different than Japhat, and they ain't the same. Go ahead.
That makes me think about how they used to put our kids in the fields picking cotton right alongside the adults.
Right,
Our
exactly.
kids are different, and a lot of those kids were able to produce. But then,
Right,
if you recall, a couple of years ago when they, scared the migrants off, and they said, "Oh well, we'll go out there." They went out there a day. These are adults, and I don't know if
right,
y'all heard about Florida trying to pass a law to take the law back where children can work alongside adults the same hours and everything. Kids have been protected from those child labor laws. Now they in Florida, they say that the kids can work overnight, starting at I think they said 14, but who kids they think they talking about?
right, exactly. Yeah, right. And like I said before, they show you how crazy how thrown off it is because they trying to roll back. The Most High got prophecies. It's moving forward. They trying to roll it back, but we going forward. They trying to roll it back. Just imagine that. So
Shalom.
nobody connecting the dots on that. Go ahead.
Shalom. And if by you saying that about the children working at an earlier age and later, they tried to take, excuse me, the education out of the system, schools. So they, you know, as they're working towards those things, maybe they would say the children are not in school, so they're going to be working out to wherever, the fields or wherever they want these children to be working late at. They'll have them out there because there's
Yeah,
no school
Right,
system.
Right? They're attacking the educational system because the truth is coming out. That's why they're attacking it. Just like when religion and everything else, the Most High, the truth is rising. That's why they're attacking the educational system. It goes back to when they attack critical race theory and all that stuff, because the truth is coming out. That's what, like I was saying, this is what the King Apple plan was talking about. Go into the emergency. They at the emergency. Carter passed the bill in 2000 that the Europeans, the Anglo-Saxon was in a negative birth rate. That was in 2000. He said when 2000 came, they were in a negative birth rate. They wouldn't have no kids. It was negative. So it's 25 years later. So this is what King Alfred Plain was talking about. The emergency is 2025, Project 2025. Okay, that's what we're looking at. So I want to shine a light on what we just talking about. The guy was talking about on this video. So like I said, they put it in our face. Ain't that you watched The Handmaiden, right? You watching The Handmaiden, Michelle?
Yes, sir.
Go back to the birth. When they doing the birth thing on that?
They were. Yes, sir.
So it's showing you in the movies. And then it was a all, like he said, the white nationalism was tied to the 2025. They want an all white government ruling body. That's what's on Handmaiden. All white men. That's what that is. The movie's showing you. And they're getting ready to come out with season 2 in April 8th. April the 8th. Anyway, so then you got the midwives, you know, come on, that's who the doctors are. And then you go back to when you start talking about birth, the Most High made Eve, that's what she was. She's the help me. She's supposed to be helping me. That's a midwife. So in the movie Roots, if you ain't seen it, go watch it. That's what that's about. When it came on, there was the system they had, the school system they had in place. The midwife was included in it. And then, like I said, on Book of the Negroes, if anybody's seen that, remember the girl, the little girl that was the movie was about. Her mama was a midwife. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
Her mama was a midwife. Remember, she was going from village to village, bringing forth children.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what. So that's what when he talking about the midwife, those were the doctors. And like he didn't notice what he said. The white man took over the birthing of kids, but he ain't never had no kids.
Yeah.
How you gonna be the damn midwife and you ain't no man? You ain't no woman. Come on.
Shalom. I think that's about power and control too. That's why they stopping the abortion thing and all of that. But you know, the other thing that's out in plain sight, I hate to say it, is the idea that, you know, I keep, you know, going in the grocery store, wherever I go, I see these, you know, I hate to say it, everyday white woman with these biracial children. That's another way they trying to extend their DNA. I mean, and that was one of the things they used to ask you, Brother Leonard, all the time. Like, okay, so what they did in slavery and what they're doing now to intermingle to somehow continue to be tied to us is that very thing. You seeing, you didn't see this before the last 20 years, white men actively and openly pursuing black women. But you always had black men supposedly chasing and intermingling with white women, but I think it was always the other way around. That was a targeted white women pursuing black men.
True, I agree.
Right. So it says, it's all it says on Handmaid's Tale, Mexican birth rate was at an all-time low as well. Right. So yeah, exactly. So like I said, they want to get a Mexican to us, but Mexican don't belong to us. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, yeah. So when you look at that, it's okay. I want to say this and then we'll move on. So when you were saying earlier about the sexual sex, them being they, that's another thing. We don't, our culture and our laws and our statutes didn't emphasize, didn't put no big time interest on sex like these people do. He said sex was to reproduce. They didn't put it on, they ain't put no emphasis on. You got people, marriages breaking up, and even they're not even getting together with certain people because of their sexual desires.
Yeah.
And that's off. That's way off.
Way
They
off.
ain't got nothing, you know, they the ones they perverted. Like I
Yeah.
said, another example of them not being no kin to us. See, look at the orgies they had. They've been having the orgies forever and a day.
Yeah.
The men, women, all of them get together. Mom and daddy all there.
Yeah.
They sleep.
Lovers of
That's what they were doing.
themselves. Yeah.
And then they hid it because for a long time because they were trying to portray themselves to be us. And then now that they think they didn't snowed us under. They coming back out with all that. So yeah, we don't have nothing to do with none of that. That ain't how it works.
Shalom. That's the Greek and the Romans heritage.
Right, exactly. Right. Cain descendants, like I said. So like you said, they it's safe to say they worship sex. Right. So that's like I said in 2 Samuel when the Lord of hosts was talking to Nathan, he said that the children of wickedness, he separated the children of wickedness from his people. Okay, so the children of wickedness came and got us on the west coast of Africa, brought us over here. Two different type of people. Okay, two different baskets of figs. So anyway, yeah. So and then so many people they don't understand that. And one more thing too. So it's some spiritual in, and you gotta understand that too. The reason why we where we at. It's some spiritual in the proper way to bring forth a kid into the world through, you know, the birthing method. There's some spiritual out there. You know, it don't just start like I was saying from the time you get 1 year old till you get 18. I mean, 6 years old to 18 to 12 missing years. But it started when they over here in this country and the way we birthed, the way we brought forth. There's something
Right.
spiritual in that that's throwing us off. Oh yeah.
Yes, sir. Shalom. They have
Yeah.
changed the way that women, um, the design of the way the women should be bringing the children into this world. Instead of laying on your back, which is a convenient thing for the doctors now, but they didn't do that. And they were in the squatting position, like they said before, they have water birth. Um, but the placenta and everything there, you know, there's a lot of ritual things go along through this process that they did back over when the women were back in the, I'll say, the ancient days in our culture, and they took all that away, and now we're doing it the way of America way of doing things, laying down and birthing your child, which is taking away from the connection with your child, and like laying the child on your body. They clean it up first and then bring it to the mother, but it was more of a connection of just straight once it's born to the body to get that connection going.
Right. So he said that the earlier when Michelle was talking about the unclean food and all that. So when you understand what's going on, is the European unclean?
Yep.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so he said we saw the priests, if the priests came across an unclean thing, they said they was unclean until they went to the Eden sacrifice. They was unclean until the Eden sacrifice. We don't have no, the oblations is done away with. So you unclean, how you getting clean? And then on top of that, uh, if you unclean, you come across a possum or a pig and you put your hands on them, you unclean. So look at the baby. He come to the world, he grabbing it. He or she, them grabbing it. He unclean.
Mhm.
Come on. So who did he ordain in the Torah and the Tanakh to deal with the Israelite kids may come forth? The midwife, not them. That's spiritual. Okay. Anyway, yeah. Anybody else
So,
got anything?
Brother Leonard, I have two more things that I would like to say. Before I talked about wet nursing, right? And you were, as you always said, we are not the same, right?
Right.
So they took the black mothers from their babies, right,
Right.
to
Exactly.
breastfeed their children
Exactly.
because even their breast milk was not the same as ours,
Right.
and they could not even go through the process of breastfeeding their own children because they were saying how painful it was, right? So they took away those black mothers from their babies to breastfeed their children. And then they
Right.
wondered why those babies came up attached to the black woman.
Right. Exactly. So who created the breast milk in the black woman?
Right. Yes, sir.
The
Most
Lord of
High.
hosts,
Lord of
right?
hosts. Yes, Lord of
Lord-
hosts. Yes,
So
sir.
so they are we know they defective. So when they got the breast milk from us, they getting healed.
Yes.
Come on.
Yep. More
Ain't that
nutrient.
something?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
That's something. I
they getting
thought about that.
they getting the real deal. They getting the real deal from the breast of the black woman.
Hmm.
They knew that. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. Anybody else got anything on that? Okay, yeah. So I said I had the topic for discussion was I just termed it the black woman, but you can say the Israelite woman. And when I'm gonna play two videos, we're gonna break them down. Uh, and so when I play it, right, you got to consider all we talked about and all the things that we talked about tonight and pertaining to this subject, and so to get a better understanding of who you are, and if you caught up in being hoodwinked, you find a way out of it. Okay, so let's check it out. Let's go to the first one.
To the channel. So I am back with another reaction video. Now this one comes from 8 at the Table. Make sure you guys check them out if you have not. Comment, like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. Y'all know what it is. And without any other further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Here we go.
I believe this. So right. But you know what I'm saying? You give me your perspective. Oh yeah, I am. Do you feel as if the men, all men, I'm not going to get it to black and white, but let's
talk black men. I don't. For me, like even with my tour, what I'm doing, right? Like by this time next year, I'm giving out reparations. I'm doing a lot in my community, right? And for black people. I don't care, but I'm talking about black people. My whole message point is for us. Now, when you talk about slavery, right? We talk about systemic racism. We talk about the Willie Lynch letter, right? We talk about, the black man is God, right? We talk about, the greatest soldier in a white man's army being a black woman and the black woman being the pawn. And then they figured out early on through slavery that because they were us, right? But they figured out if we get the black woman or we get the whole joint.
Oh, and let me just say something right there. He is not telling a lie there. And a lot of people, we speak on it now. If you can get the black women to go against the black men, then you're winning. You don't need them to perpetuate a cycle. Your women can do it for them. So they don't really need anybody else to do it. You recruited the black women and made them hate their black men and go against them. It's entrenched. And that's what we see. We see so many women have a disdain toward black men because they don't speak about them in a positive way. It's everything negative. So, and then they move a certain way and they act accordingly when it comes to black men. You don't need white supremacy if you use the black women to do the job for them. But let's continue.
Okay. So
you know why? Go ahead. I want you to explain why, because I think you need.
But I get to that, but I want to finish the messaging point, right? I like to keep it cohesive for myself. I might forget a lot of information here. So, What they did was they made the black woman hyper masculine, right? And they made you and me as we're studs. We're gonna be in the field. We're handy, right? Um, and I think, and I'm trying to kind of connect it all because he made a valid point, right? The government empowered black women to strategically move the position of power from the black man, remove the power from the black man, right? Yeah. So now the black woman in that instance becomes drunk off this power, and then she has a disdain for the black man, and then it becomes perpetuated over generations. So with slavery, what they did was they take us, they call it buck breaking. They bang us, cut our balls off in front of the black woman, and then before the black man, they'll make the black, after they didn't get him dusty, they'll chain him up, right? Look, they'll chain him up, right? They'll chain him up, beat him within an inch of his life, and then unchain him, and then do that to the woman. And then the woman is looking at the man like, come save me, but mentally he doesn't even have no fight in him. So now she doesn't even have no respect for you.
Oh, child, baby, listen, he's actually speaking some real truth here. And it's sort of how black women look at black men to this day. You don't have no respect for them. Look at them as if they're not worth anything. A lot of these women have so much praise and admiration for any other race of men except their own. And so it makes sense. It kind of goes all the way back to slavery, what he's talking about, of how and why.
So that's why one of the things I was just talking about, holy. The Israelite woman is holy. And so you can't go with those other people. Just like the black man, he can't go grab none of them people. You a holy race. Okay?
The women have this negative appeal towards their own men, and it makes sense. It's not something that just happened overnight. This is something that's been set up. Let's continue.
Fast forward to this generation, black women don't respect black men at all. And when you understand that, and it's a lot, so I'm trying to make it like simple, right? Because a lot of people, they respond emotionally and not intellectually, and there's no empathy for black men. There's no sympathy for black men. You don't even love black men. You don't even know who we are. You don't give about us. Pay my bills, eat my, and that's it. Okay, so it's important that black men understand what was done to us and why it was done to us. It's also important that black women understand their position in systematic racism and how they're being utilized to destroy their whole family and the whole community and the whole generation.
Yeah, I think that's very important as well, because that is exactly what's happening. And I don't think that a lot of black women realize how they're being used in that way. They don't realize it. They just.
We're Phoenix Energy, a family-owned oil.
Any comments so far?
Shalom.
Black men are just dusty. They
Go ahead.
I have mixed views about these types of conversations because even though there are some validity to what they're saying, but they also are part of the propaganda to continue to perpetuate this idea that there is a fight between black men and black women. Statistically, we know that majority, I would say 80%, or in the high 80s, of black men marry black women, and black women are married to black men. Part of this ongoing battle that we have is the idea that the message in the music, the message in the shows, the TV shows, and all of the advertisement and stuff that gets put in our faces to perpetuate these very conversations. I'm not saying that they don't exist, but when you take us, let's say, I'm gonna be conservative and say you take 40% of what they're saying is true, and you put that and play that before the other 60%, it gives the impression that that is the majority, and I don't think that's true. I think a lot of us understand this idea that they are pushing this narrative of taking the cream of the crop and surrounding them by white women, and creating generational wealth, mixed race babies, in order to perpetuate this idea that black men that are successful don't want black women. And then they put the same idea in front of us to say that black women who are successful don't want black men, they want anybody else but that. but that's not the majority. And so if we don't have an equal access to the truth, you will believe that that minority is the majority. That's the same story they tell us about them being in control, and they are being. But it's the minority that's ruling this world. It's not the majority. But the way that they put these messages in our face through the media, radio, television, advertisement, you would think that they are the majority, but they're not. I think somebody said, I saw some video saying that white people at large are only 13% of the entire world. But the
Right.
way that they put all of this in our face, you think that it's we're the 13%. Every other person of color and black people combined are the 13%, but that's not true. I'm not
Right.
saying that what they're saying is not. There's no validity to it. I'm just saying that if you only talk about that part of it and not also emphasizing all these successful black men that are married to black women, then you give a skewed view of what is really going on in the black community. Okay, I'm done
Right.
with that.
I agree. I agree. I want to say a little something on that. When he was saying black women, so you're lumping us all together and putting us all in the same basket. What about the black women that do support the black man, that is trying to support the black man and understand that both of us, have been in the worldly sauce through whatever you want to call it. I notice he keeps saying black women. Don't put us all in the same basket. Like Tasha said, you got to look at both sides. So if somebody else is listening to this video that's already feeling negatively about the black woman, this is throwing gasoline on the fire, because not all black women are that way or feel that way about the black man.
Right.
So like you said, we are holy people. So how can we feel that way about our black men?
Yeah. And if I may, I want to add this to that as well. The other part of that is they I'm not saying all of them, but I would say those in power, they want to force us to govern our households the way they do. So the idea that in their household the man is the lead in terms of being the breadwinner and the woman is at home just raising the kids, that's not necessarily how we operate. Well, while I do believe that the man is the head of the household, but we don't have to govern ourselves and take our way of living and raising our kids or constructing the way in which we uh, provide for our families the way that they do. So you have our women thinking that if a man can't sit us down and we just be at home taking care of the kids, that
Hmm.
somehow we don't that there's something wrong with that. I believe that the woman and the man work together, and the man is the head, but it's nothing wrong with them doing these non-traditional things as long as it makes the family thrive.
Benefit.
Not this idea that we have to have these 2.2 kids, a dog, a picket fence, and the man is bringing home everything to the woman. No, God made us the helpmate, and they don't get to dictate what that helpmate looks like. We do, and the Most High, we take our lead from Him.
Right. Right. So that's the when you told the 2.2 kids in the household, that's Gentile mentality. So that's what they're trying to get us to do. As being a watchman on the wall, um, it's so many you would assume, but all we have to do is go back each one of our lives and look back, and it was a time we ain't know none of this stuff.
Right.
So we was being led now. So my purpose as being a watchman on the wall is to bring this out. So
Yeah.
for people to look at it and see, and if you caught up in it, get out of it.
Yeah.
Because we've been brainwashed so much. So this applies to a lot of things. Because there's so
Yeah.
much stuff happening there, even with the men. And even in my life, especially back in the day, you ain't know the people over there in Israel You ain't know you was no Israelite. You ain't know that the people over there was faking and all that. You ain't know all that. But you got 90-some% of the majority days is where you was at. They told. They being manipulated. And like I said, sex don't have shit to do with the Israelite. But in our world today, that's all that governs everything.
Right.
So, but who there? How many people we know that's there? It's very few. They ain't there. They base their whole life off of how some Negro look or this or that. It's all sexual. That's who they are.
Lady said the other day, 6 feet tall, 6 figures, six-pack ab. Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to a video like that. Yeah.
Like I was like my man Kevin Samuel said about you're a 3. You ain't gonna get no 10. You ain't gonna get no 10. You got your ultimate man right there right there in your area. But you can't see him because you think you're gonna get a 10. Got muscles and money and all that. No. Ain't how it works.
Shalom.
We all dealing with our culture. Go ahead.
Shalom. The other part of that, from a psychological standpoint, they have this terminology where they talk about the Stockholm syndrome, where the people who are oppressed or prisoners of someone for even a short period of time begin to take on the characteristics of, let's say, the master in this case. But yet they apply that to everybody else but us. But yet you're still sort of perpetuating that mindset and that tool of how that Stockholm syndrome actually works to the Black community, because you're trying to get us in every way possible to fall in line with the way in which they live, their belief systems, their cultural beliefs, but at the same time, you're trying to manifest everything that we have and what we got and govern, and then apply it to yourselves. So it's all mixed up, and I think that's part of the reason why Brother Leonard be talking about it's going to be a remnant. And we have to understand everybody is not going to go, because not everybody had that ability or has the ability to be able to shake that off, because it's so overwhelming. And only a remnant is going to get it and go. And he's going to be able to use them to bring us all back.
Right. And the thing about it is, when you put it into the hands of the Lord of hosts, the people on this line, they have some kind of semblance of what the Lord of hosts capable of. So it could be somebody that's gonna hear this conversation on Israel Wake Up, and it's gonna deter them. See what I'm saying? So that's what I'm doing. You don't know. They told you got, like I said, you got to look at your life. At one time, you ain't had no clue.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the purpose of these type of conversations is for that. And like I said, it's not to denigrate the Black man or the Black woman. It's about the truth coming to the surface. And then the Israelite, somebody that's thinking like the Israelite, make the adjustment. Right.
Shalom, Brother Leonard. That part is correct, right? We never know who's going to run across this type of information, right? So as Hebrew Israelite men and women, you cannot consider yourself as part of the worldly sauce. You're in it, right? But not part of it, right? You have to separate yourself from that part of it and understand what has happened to the man and the woman throughout up until today, I shall say. Not throughout, but up until today. Both has faced so much trauma, right? And we have to unlearn everything that we have learned. But with the help of the Lord of hosts, we can overcome any and everything. But you have to be strong in this walk.
Right.
You have to be. You cannot be in the truth feeling a certain type of way about people. You cannot be in this truth feeling as though I should be here and they should not. It's a mindset that you have to have being in this truth.
Right.
Because as
And
we grew,
they emotional.
yes,
That's what I'm
yes,
saying.
sir.
The white woman, the Anglo-Saxon, Cain descendants, they emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's what we that happened to us.
Mm-hmm.
When
Mm-hmm.
you're dealing with when you're dealing with the Most High, it ain't about no emotions.
Yeah.
It's about
Right.
finding out what He said about what He said and lining up with that. It ain't about no emotion, and that's where we
Yes.
at. When you go, and so you say, what are you talking about? The church, the black
Yeah.
church. It's
Mm.
all about emotion. They ain't, that don't count for nothing. When you start talking about Israel and the Torah and the Tanakh, it ain't about no emotion. But that's what
Shalom.
they've been guided by. We ain't guided by it. Okay, go ahead.
Shalom. I was gonna say, this reminds me when you talk about the imagery and the us being in this world but not being a part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
That if you think about the movie The Matrix, it was so many people willing to stay in the mindset, and it's just a metaphor, and staying in that mindset of living in a world that they didn't have to do anything. But
Right,
when you have to make the decision to go against the grain, then you see everything for what it really is. It was the dark, the gray, the destruction, because
right,
that's what it really was. But so many people wasn't willing to quote unquote wake up to the truth because it was easier to stay asleep. And that's
right.
what we're dealing now. So
It's a
you got to
myth.
go ahead, babe.
It's another element to that too. So when you say the matrix, the person that had to make that decision, now he know it's a matrix. But
Right.
90 some percent of the people don't know it's a matrix. But now that
Yeah.
you know it's a matrix, now you got to make a decision.
You got
Yeah.
right.
Because you're in the know. You're in the know. Everybody ain't in the know.
Come
Right.
on.
Okay. Uh
I think Mika was trying to say something in the midst of all of this. I don't know if we can hear her or not. I know she was
oh yeah, she
unmuted.
good. Yeah, she good now.
Shalom, I'm sorry. I was just waiting for everybody to finish. I just wanted
Okay.
to say, I realize and I know a lot of people have probably felt the same way, where there were great lengths gone to emasculate the black man. It wasn't so much of just coming from the black woman as the guy was trying to portray.
Yeah.
It is way bigger than just a black woman. They have done this for so long, so many years, to try to
Right.
make him feel less than, or even
Mm-hmm.
kind of like switching roles with the black woman, if that make any sense. Like, you know,
Right.
make it seems as if the black woman has to do or try to do both jobs, providing
Right.
housing, providing the food, subsidies and stuff like that. And the black man cannot be in the home, you know, when they would put them in what they call the project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, or whatever type of housing, whether it was Section 8, they don't want the father in the home. You know what I'm saying? So it's just been so many things and where they've tried from different angles to try to break the black man for so long, so it's really bigger than just them trying to put it on the black woman. I just don't agree with it. Um I I
Right.
do I'm sorry, was it Tasha? Um that was making a statement earlier. I can't see on
Right.
here.
Yeah.
um
Tasha.
That's me.
about what she was saying. That's not the majority. We all don't feel that same way, that black man is not appreciated, um or we don't respect him. You know what I mean? They try to paint that narrative, but
Right.
it's not everybody. So
Right.
I just feel like we do have some responsibility to, even with raising our children, to show that the opposite of what's being portrayed on the media, even how they show black men dressed as women, like that's something to praise or think that it's funny, or whatever. That we teach our children, and especially our boys, on how to be, even with the father, even if he's not in the home, allow the father to still be a part of the child life. All of that stuff will make a difference in how the generations come up. I mean, that's just my personal opinion.
Shalom.
Go ahead.
I don't know how many of us are on TikTok, but there was a video of the guy that's playing the black Captain America was being interviewed, and uh, the chatter around his interview was they trying to quote unquote cancel him because of the way he said he was raising his sons. I think he got three sons, and he was talking about how he doesn't want his sons to buy into this narrative of buying expensive shoes and wearing Nikes and Jordans, and this image of what a black man, the image or the script that they want black men to be. He teaches his sons to go the opposite way. And I thought that interview was very interesting. I was listening to it, and I totally agree. But yet the narrative that they're trying to say is he needs to be canceled because he's raising his kids opposite, or his sons opposite of the narrative that the majority or the minority of this country who's running it wants him to be raised. And then I look at the comments, everybody, especially those of African descent, was saying, what's wrong with what he's saying? It's because it's a narrative that goes against the grain of what they want us to do. And anytime somebody comes out and says they want to do something different, or they do it in a way that's probably more aligned with the Most High and how He wants us to have our families, then there's an attack on that person. They're too masculine, or they doing it's too bravado. But that's exactly who these men supposed to be.
Right. He proceeded to be a militant. That's why.
Right.
And
Right.
so, I was saying before, even on a lot of on these platforms, it's gotten to the men too. So when you get I know me. If I get on a line and I started talking because of what has happened to me and what the Lord holds and done, my voice raised. Right. So my voice raised. Now everybody offended.
Yeah.
Because my voice been raised. And so that tells you a whole lot right there. You can't even, they ain't trying to hear nothing you say because you done raise your voice.
Right. But you know what, Brother Leonard, they also do that to us as women.
Right.
Whenever we are engaged in a conversation and we letting them know what's what,
Right.
they
Acknowledging.
instantly get, yeah, they instantly get so-called fearful or scared
Right.
and say that
Right.
we're being too
Aggressive.
passionate, we're being right. And so it's just a way to try to sterilize us in terms of being more compliant and in a way that is acceptable to them, instead of them accepting us as how we are.
Exactly. Right. And that's my thing too. Like I said before, um, first I'm gonna say this because I've been, it was, light was shined on this. So when you go back to like rodents, rats, rodents, roaches, right? Snakes. What do you do if you see a snake, or if you see a rat or a roach? What you do?
I run.
But, but think about
Run.
not just black folks, but all people. You see a snake, what you do? You run and trying to get a shovel, anything to try to cancel
Kill
them,
it.
right?
Hmm.
You see a rat, you do the same thing, ain't it?
Right.
Yes,
Or a
sir.
roach. That's how they perceive
Kill it.
us.
Yeah.
So
An
why the hell would
enemy.
you be? Why the hell would you be up in their face trying to talk to them?
Yeah.
Or you plan an event? Why would you want to plan an event around where they at?
Hmm.
Come on, think
The,
about that. And you try to rap to them, whether it's the man or the woman.
hmm
They
the
perceive you
only
as a they perceive you as a rodent. That's how they perceive us. Look at the Constitution. And then you think you're gonna win. You sitting there, you in the NBA or the NFL with $200-300 million. That ain't gonna work. I don't care what
Shalom.
you think. It ain't gonna work.
The only time they want to see us hyped up or aggressive is when we're entertaining them, and they
Exactly.
want it to be at the level that they can tolerate it. So
Right.
I
That's
I mean
me.
I'm not a big football fan, but I do kind of watch the commentary about it, and this whole thing around Deion Sanders' son, describing him as being arrogant, but yet
Right,
the comparison to the other upcoming uh, quarterbacks, which they never wanted us to be the quarterback because that's the head of the team. Um, they said that everybody else has come back that they're very cocky because the person who is leading the team has to show strength, but they don't want to see that in us unless we're following them.
right. And that's the crazy part about that. I mean, who is that is? Come on.
Right.
That's like telling Solomon not to be cocky. David is daddy.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? That's crazy.
Right.
That's what I'm saying about you having some kind of family event or whatever. Why would you want to be around them when you set it up?
And the other thing about that is when just like I know that when you watch and see these things, when you see that one come out, then it starts a ripple effect, and that's what they're afraid of, and that's why they keep trying to pop it down. I'm watching these little young kids. You know how they used to say we couldn't swim and we
Right,
didn't swim, and then the Montgomery ball brawl, that little boy jumped
right.
in the water swimming, got
Yeah,
up
yeah,
fighting. Now look at
exactly.
all these kids swimming. They are a pool length ahead. I'm watching
Right.
these relays. I don't know if you guys have seen them. It's amazing to watch
Oh
these
yeah,
kids, and now even the gymnasts, they're coming out doing these things that Simone Biles, they said only she could do. These little black
right.
girls coming out, they're duplicating it. The tennis,
Oh yeah.
same thing.
They
Right.
knew
It
that. They
only
know
takes
that.
one, and they don't, and
Right.
they try to control it, but they can't. They can
Right.
only
They they,
delay.
they knew that. They knew that because of like I said before, look at the NFL. I mean the NBA. Come on, look at all these Negroes. And you only got 29 teams, 30 teams. That's subliminal right there. They're limiting because look at the money that'll be made. Look at rap. So they limited. I mean, for the longest they wouldn't. They didn't. They had us brainwashed by golf. The Tiger
Yeah,
Woods came, and then look how these black women after Serena and Venus came into tennis. All
yeah,
the black women showing up. They had us just like with Africa. They had us brainwashed with Africa. But look what's happening now.
right.
So like I was saying before, why would you even sit around worrying about what they think? And why would you want to be around them or engage with them?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point I'm saying is that so you got thousands and thousands of people that on that they don't even know nothing about this side. They just got one side of it from what they was brainwashed and hoodwinked when they was in school. They don't know nothing about this side that I'm an Israelite and then the Torah. They don't know nothing about none of that. So they doing what everybody else do. One Negro get a Cadillac, everybody else want to get a Cadillac. So if I'm being saucy with my old man, then I'm gonna be saucy with mine. They don't know nothing about the Most High laws, statutes, and judgments. Right. Okay. I'm gonna play a little more of this other one. It's a little more jazzy, but I'm gonna play it and then we'll close. I'm gonna do the pick a scripture, close out. Okay.
Maybe new tariffs, different levels of tariffs.
Okay.
The NASDAQ.
Hit the wrong one. Here we go. There we go.
I'd rather reach in the back and get the bad boys, the ones that look good, the one that got the popularity, the one that got the money but no character. That's the man y'all go for. Cause right, you would rather cry in the Bentley, right? Yeah, no, I'd rather not cry at all. See, and the good men at the front want to work faithfully, ain't out all night in club and dead by 8 watching anime. Them the ones. I'm telling you now, them the ones. But see, look.
So indirectly, when you look at it from, like I said, on this side of the fence, those men that she talking about in the bed at a certain time, they got Israelite characteristics. The other ones, they out there, they're Gentile, they brainwashing Gentile. Yeah, check it out.
Them the ones that y'all be saying they give y'all the it, right? No, that's not the it. You just want the bad boys.
Good men are hard to find because good men aren't looking for you. Good men are hard to find because good men are busy working, climbing corporate ladders, chasing success, building businesses, building themselves and their future. Good men are hard to find because good men don't do nightclubs, strip joints, on dating apps, on Instagram, liking women pictures sliding in their DMs. Good men don't find their women that way. Low value men do. Good men are just like good women. They are very selective in their personal search. They're not turned on by women with big butts, big tits, and who have the intelligence of a rock. Instagram models do not impress them. They have outgrown that phase of their life. Good men don't settle down with women who are not in alignment with their future goals. Good men do not settle with women that they can't grow with and become their best self. Because they know selecting the wrong woman, just like selecting the wrong man, can be detrimental to their success and their overall well-being. So yes, I totally agree with you. Good men are hard to find because good men are setting themselves up for a good woman to become a good husband.
Just a minute. Okay. What do you think?
Well, I hear no lies.
Okay. Ain't that so? Okay. Yeah.
Brother
And
Leonard, excuse me, sir. I just have something to say. After Tasha does the scripture, I would like to read something, please. Oldie but goodie, and I think it's good for us as the daughters of Zion to hear before we get off the line.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay. What you got? Charles, you gonna do the scripture?
Yes, let me get it. So even with the conversation that was we were having with the videos being played before and what was
Mm-hmm.
played on what we were talking about on Sunday, I thought that this scripture kind of resonated with me. It's one of my favorite scriptures. It's from Jeremiah 17 through 21, if I can read that whole thing. It
Yeah. Go ahead.
says, Jeremiah 17, for thus said the Lord, David shall never want a man to sit upon the throne of the house of Israel, neither shall the priests, the Levites, want a man before me to offer burnt offerings and to kindle meat for offerings and to do sacrifice continually. And the word of the Lord came unto Jeremiah, saying, thus said the Lord, if ye can break my covenant, if ye can break my covenant of the day and my covenant of the night, and that there should not be the day and night in their season, then may also my covenant be broken with David my servant, that he shall not have a son to reign upon his throne, and with the Levites, the priests, my ministers. That's Jeremiah 17 through 21.
Okay. So, do you want clarity on that, or?
Yeah, I think that it just resonates with me because of everything that's going on. They're trying to force the prophecy in their benefit, and every time I hear and listen to the current events and then the tie-in from the scripture, it just brings me back to this. And if you could just remind us of what that means. I've always focused on the part about David, but then I've been led to understand that it ain't just David, it's also the Levites. Without those two, uh, you know, we won't be able to be successful moving forward. If you could just kind of, remind us about that, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he have just like he have a covenant with David. There's always going to be a son out of David lineage on the throne, on David's throne. If the man that's on the throne in Israel not out of David lineage, then it's a breach in Israel. So, but he also you got two positions in Israel. You got the high priest and the king. So with Aaron, you got that same covenant with Aaron. There's always going to be a son out of Aaron's lineage as the high priest. And so that takes us to Isaiah, right quick. I mean to Zechariah. Yeah, Zechariah chapter 4. And it says, Zechariah chapter 4, start at verse 11. It says, then answered I, Zechariah, and he said unto the angel Gabriel, what are these two olive trees upon the right side of the candlestick? The candlestick is the menorah inside the Holy of Holies, and upon the left side of the candlestick. So it's one on one side of the candlestick, one on the other side. And I answered again and said unto him, what be these two olive branches, which through the two golden pipes empty the golden oil out of themselves? And he answered me and said, knowest thou not what these be? And I said, no, my Lord. Then said he, these are the two anointed ones that stand by the Lord of the whole earth. So what was being portrayed is they're in the Holy of Holies. Once a year they go in the Holy of Holies. And the two angels that he told him to make is this with the ark, the mercy seat that Michael come down once a year over the mercy seat, and these two anointed ones, David, one out of David lineage, one out of Aaron lineage, comes in the Holy of Holies once a year. That's what Jeremiah was talking about. So, and that is spiritual too, because that's why where we at today. Those two offices, those two men been done away with. But when he destroyed the temple, it's not happening now. So he says in the last days, he said Israel's gonna go for many days without a king and without a priest. That's what he's talking about. So in these last days, he's gonna bring back. Like I said in Ezekiel 37, he's gonna raise David up, and then in Malachi, he's gonna raise Elijah up out of Aaron's lineage. Those are the two anointed ones that he's gonna bring together in these last days to bring us back together. They have to be in place for us to come back together. Not Jesus.
Yep.
That making sense?
Yeah, and I just always want to hear that because it gives me comfort. And it keeps me motivated to keep holding on. I don't mean that's just for me. I that's why I always go to that. It's like my it's like my safety blanket to hear that and to know that when everything is going on, that makes me sometimes feel like it's impossible, but through the Most High and my God, our God, I believe anything is possible. And I need to hear that. I need to remember that in the face of all the stuff that's going on.
Well, right. So that's like he said, I spoke it, I perform it, I'm gonna bring it to pass. So we know he spoke it. What you read, he spoke it. If Jeremiah said it, then he spoke it. So it's gonna come to pass. There ain't nothing that these Gentiles or these Edomites can do to stop it. It's gonna come to pass. Okay. So with that being said, we got something.
Yes, sir. Shalom. I would like to read a little something. It's good to remind us every now and then of who we are. And tonight's discussion just brought this to me tonight. So I'm going to read this. The truth about the daughters of Zion. Daughters of Zion, the truth is, we are above all women of the earth. They may think that we are Muslim because we wear a head covering and keep the dietary laws, a Seventh-day Adventist for keeping the Sabbath, a Jehovah Witness because we don't celebrate birthdays or any pagan holidays. The daughters of Zion do not belong to any religion or cult. The daughters of Zion are not a mixed multitude, but we are the queens chained beside the kings as the ships scattered us about the earth. I'm going to read that one more time. The daughters of Zion are not a mixed multitude, but we were the queens chained beside the kings as the ships scattered us about the earth. We were auctioned on the blocks and scattered even further. Deuteronomy 28. Israel shall be scattered, verses 64 through 68. Verse 64, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shall thy find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have no rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. 67. In the morning thou shalt say, Would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, Would God it were morning? For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. No other woman has suffered like the daughters of Zion. So stop calling us the Gentile and Neanderthal women by our name. We are not the women of the New Testament. We are Hebrew Israelites. We are the women of the Old Testament, like Sarah, Abigail, and Rachel. Daughters of Zion, the truth is, we are chosen above all women of the earth. Deuteronomy chapter 14 and 2. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself above all the nations that are upon the earth. Shalom.
Okay, anybody got any comments on that? We're gonna close with this right here. I kind of got away from it. I'm trying to get back to it, but we got a poet.
Trying to be who society wants you to be. This strong black woman who doesn't need anyone or anything. Generationally, we watched our mothers suffer in silence and learned to smile when we're unhappy, living life on autopilot. Don't get it twisted. There is nothing wrong with identifying as a strong black woman. But don't let the world's definition consume your identity. Strong but yet hurting internally, hiding your insecurities, trying to live up to a standard that is psychologically detrimental to me. Single mom with responsibilities. You have bills on top of bills, you got kids to feed. With this mindset of Miss Independent, nope, I don't need a man. I can do everything twice as good as he can. See, we were never created to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. Mouth muzzled, suffering in silence, and your progress is getting slower. Being the world's idea of a strong black woman can be mentally and physically exhausting. Trying to uphold an image that is superficial and costly. I gotta walk in strength, even when I'm broken to pieces behind a door that is closed. I can't let them see my scars. I can't expose the unexposed. See, the world will have you filling shoes that don't belong to you. Have you living a facade through an identity that ain't true? Well, I declare, no, not I. I made a declaration that I will no longer suffer in silence. I will no longer be the cause of my own turmoil and internal violence. I am strong because I have the courage to show my vulnerabilities. No, I'm not perfect, but my weaknesses are no disability. I'm not superwoman, and that never should have been my aim. Whole, black, and beautiful in God is what changed the game. Confidently walking with my head held high, understanding my worth and watching my goals multiply. Let me introduce you to this strong black woman. I now know that there is nothing wrong with reaching out for support. Let go of the perfectionism and the fear that you are gonna fall short. See, the next black girl is not your enemy. Let go of this notion that her success is the end of me. You have to uplift one another, because when she wins, we win too. We are trailblazers that will pave the way for the next woman to go through. So let's redefine what it means to be a strong black woman.
Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I see y'all Saturday for our Shabbat class. We got a men's line tomorrow. you want to come in through YouTube, you can. But I'll see you on Saturday morning. Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.